Thank you guys so much for coming to the meeting, the little Zoom meeting today we have with Click&Co. They're going to do a webinar, and we've got Nikki and Shannon joining us shortly. They'll be attending as one of the panelists. As soon as they come in, we'll get them going, but we're so excited to have y'all here. Click&Co has been awesome at helping us get our website set up, and we were so thrilled when they decided to be able to put this webinar for us. So soon you guys will be able to see our brand new website that they've put together. Shannon's been involved in the Dallas Steering Committee for many years, so we knew this would be just a perfect fit.
Hello.
Nikki's joining us now. So Nikki, I'm gonna let you take it from here. We just did a little introduction, and I'll let you talk a little bit more about Click&Co and what you guys do, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, sounds good. Well, let me get my screen share on really quickly. And Valerie, if you can just give me a nod when you see that. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you everyone for jumping on and taking the time today. I know we're all sort of still getting adjusted to what this new normal looks like for ourselves and for our business. And you've all probably had your fair share of online education in the last couple months also. So I promise to put as much value and information into the next hour as possible to try and give you something to walk away with today in terms of digital. And as Valerie mentioned, my name is Nikki Nuckols, and I am the creative director and co-founder of Click&Co. My business partner, Shannon Koshak, here next to me on the picture. She's the one that you'll likely see out at the ICAA events and throughout DFW when they happen again. So together we form Click&Co. We're a digital strategy, brand design, and web design company. And we've hyper-focused ourselves into the luxury design market, as we really saw a need for a partner that can serve small businesses but still provide the full service effect, from brand evolutions to full-blown digital strategy sessions and beyond. So one thing that we've always said is your business is digital, our business is digital, everyone's business is digital. And this has been something that in the past people have said, or kind of just looked at us a little funny and thought, you know, I get most of my business from word of mouth or referrals, and I do most of my interaction in person. So, you know, they've questioned that in the past. Now more than ever, it's true. But long story short, our world thrives on digital experiences and convenience. So that's something that can absolutely help you, and digital can help you achieve that. So if it's not a part of your marketing mix yet, it absolutely should be now moving forward. So today we'll talk through the basics of auditing your own website. This is something that we always refer to as the hub of your online digital strategy plan or marketing plan. So it's important to make sure you sort of check all the boxes there. We'll talk through engaging with your target demographic and providing that value to them that makes them want to keep engaging with you and hearing more. And then we'll talk through creating convenience with digital. And again, our world's just not convenient right now. So anything that you can provide to them that makes it a little easier and streamlined and that they can do from home is essential. So auditing your website. On average, 3 seconds is the amount of time someone gets on your website before they decide if they'd like to stay or go. So 3 seconds is nothing. And when you're in person, you can clearly communicate with somebody and sell them on what you're trying to talk about. And they can't just get up and walk away from the table within 3 seconds in most scenarios. So online is a much different thing to tackle when you're trying to get somebody to stay, and they don't have to have the courtesy to stick around and hear what you have to say. They can just leave. So the way you typically would start that is first and foremost, you need a cohesive, memorable design that has an easy navigation. So judgments on a company's credibility are 75% based on the company's website design. That's a huge number, whether you're referral based or somebody who's looking for search engine traffic, 75% of those people are looking at your website and deciding if they feel like you're legitimate or not. So when you're thinking of the actual design itself, one trick is to sort of hold up a piece of paper in front of your logo on your site. And if you can cover that up and feel like there's nothing else on the page within view that defines your brand or has brand elements or showcases what your brand is all about, then you're just a website with a logo on it. You need a branded experience online to build that brand recognition and make them remember that and retain that once they leave and look at your competitor's site. So having multiple elements of your brand, making sure the fonts and the typography and all of that are in place and in line is a huge attribute. Easy navigation. So we'll dive into this a little bit also in a bit, but having your navigation have very clear locations and making sure that they're direct representation of what someone's going to find on that page so that they don't have to dig. And just like the old model, the keep it simple, stupid, the KISS method, you want to make sure you're leading people down a path. What they don't know, and you need to provide them that path to get them to the next spot. So an exercise that we like to do with people, most of the time, people who concentrate on building spaces and designing environments can visualize what they want their brand to look and feel like in a room better than they can digitally. So a really good way to do this is if you have an office space that you feel like is a good representation of your brand, or even if you don't and you can just visualize that, you want to think of what that space looks like. And think of everything down to what someone would see when they walk in, what they would see on the walls, what they would experience, where they would sit, what you would tell them first, and all of that so that you can make sure and think about what you're building for them. And describe that in as few words as possible. If you can put 3 words to that, it makes a really good baseline for you. So you describe that to yourself, what your experience looks like offline, and then you go to your website, and then you use 3 words to describe that. And a lot of times we're biased on our own project, so the best way to do this is to get a few people involved and help you test this and see if your online environment is the same as your offline. So if you send this out in an anonymous survey, you can use SurveyMonkey or any of those out there, you can ask some people what they feel like they see when they get to your site. And you don't need them to describe anything beyond what the site makes them feel like and what the design looks like. Pro tip, you don't want to necessarily send this to anyone and everybody. If you're just sending it to family or friends or competitors, you won't necessarily get that genuine feedback that you need. You want to send this to people who are your target demographic. So if you have past clients who have been the ideal client and you'd like to get more of them, they would be the type of person that you'd want to send this to. And it's just a one question survey, and get that feedback and make sure those 2 things align. So once you have your design all worked out and in place, you want to think about a few more things and take it a step further. So you want to think about what the goal is. For most of us as service providers, our goal is to get people online from point A to point B, and point B being your conversion point, which is your contact form. So if you get people to that contact form, you're gathering their information, and then digital is doing its job, and then it's just left for you to sell them. So what the goal of the site is, what questions do your clients always have for you? What do they say is important to them? What are they commonly confused by? What are they hesitant about? What the pain points are? And what do they always love about you and your business? And then that's when you can really start to be strategic with it. So if somebody constantly says, they're confused about how your services are or how in-depth your services get, and that's where the confusion lies, that's a really good spot on your website when we're talking about services to tuck in something. Maybe it's as simple as an FAQ panel. Maybe it's something where we need to go a step further and have some sort of online chat feature so that when they get to that page and they're confused, they don't just leave. They have somewhere to contact and talk through. Same goes for the happy stuff, the stuff that they love about you. So if you have a portfolio that seems to always get people's attention, and that's the one that you show, where you show that project and people all of a sudden want to work with you, that's a really good spot to make sure we have a contact button, so that when they're on that page, they're experiencing that work, they're being sold by looking through your website, they then can click on that button and get that instant connection with you. Next step is making sure you have something to measure. So if you put all of this work into your website and your brand and your online experience, you need to know what's working and what's not working. This is a screenshot from Google Analytics. Google Analytics is free. It's something that you can add to your site pretty simply. And when you get there, within a matter of minutes, you're able to start seeing the traffic that's on your site. And you can see not only how many users are on your site, but you can also see the path that they took throughout your website, what they clicked on, where they came from before they got to your site, what the bounce rate is. The bounce rate is generally referring to your homepage. So did they get past their homepage, your homepage, or did they leave from there? And all of those things can tell us a lot. So if somebody, for instance, has a really high bounce rate, we know that either their load time isn't very good, people aren't connecting with the photography or the design of the homepage, or there might be some other bigger problem that we need to look into. So there's all of these things that we can look at and decipher what's working and what's not working from that. Google reports that 40% of mobile consumers turn to a competitor site after a bad mobile experience. This is also pretty big. Most of us are getting about half of our traffic from mobile. So if you're getting that much traffic from that and they're just leaving, digital is not doing its job. Again, everything with digital is changing. More people are using it to get what they need to get. More people are relying on it and feeling like it's an important part of their decision-making process, their buying process. So you absolutely need your mobile site to be as good as your desktop version. So if you look at your own device, of course, you can tell whether it looks good or not there. But it's really important to know beyond just your own iPhone or whatever you have. So there's this website, the Responsinator, that you can go to. You put your link in at the very top, and that's where you can look at your own website in all of these different devices and look at what it looks like on iPad, on mobile, different platforms of mobile, and on desktop. So it's a good way to just check all of that. Making sure your website is secure is huge, and it's a really easy thing for you to do. So if someone gets to your site and they see this big notification pop up that says your connection is not private, most of the time this means that you don't have what's called an SSL. And that's a simple purchase that you can make from your hosting company. So it's a matter of just contacting them, and it's usually around $50 to $100 to purchase. And it's something you renew every year, but once it's there and people can see your site. So you definitely need to incorporate that. Making sure your site loads quickly. This is a huge component of user experience. So if your site takes a really long time to load, people are typically going to leave because remember we only have that 3-second window at the very beginning. So if your site does load really slowly and you're running into that as a problem, for most of us, we have portfolio-based sites with a lot of photos on them. So that's something that can take up a lot of space and take a long time to load if we didn't size them correctly. All photos on a website should be web resolution, that's 72 dpi. This is something you can work with your photographer on to get to you, but you always want to make sure you're uploading web resolution photos to your site, and that should keep your load time down. There are bigger factors that can go into it beyond photos, but that's sort of the step one that you can master on your own. So once your site is all in a good place and your hub, so to speak, is good, you can start engaging with your target. This seems like an overwhelming task for a lot of people. So the best way to start is putting together a publication calendar. And what that does is just sort of lay out when you're going to post content, lay out for a whole month what you're going to post about, what days you're going to do it, what days you get the best traffic and response from it. and then what platforms you're going to use as far as social media and your website and all of that. We do have a free download on our site, so if anybody wants this printout, they can do that. And what I really like about this is that you do have your days that you can just post your topic that you want to post about, but you also have this section at the top where you can put your theme. So having a theme coordinating with days of the week just sort of helps you be able to not have to think of something for every single day. So for instance, if you post testimonials on Tuesday, that would be something where you can categorize that whole day out, versus maybe you have project reveals on Thursday or even just once a month. However you want to structure that, this can kind of just help you get that in place. And when you have all of that content, it's really important to understand, especially now with how everything's going in the economy and all of that, that you need to be aware of the reader's emotional state. So right now, people feel anxious, stressed, and uncertain. They want to read things that make them feel comfort, clarity, hope, and trust. So recognizing where people are at in their day-to-day lives is really important, and making sure your content's centered around that. You don't, for instance, want to post something that's talking about building a great space in their home that's going to be inviting for all of the parties they're going to have this summer. You do want to talk about people spending more time in their home and improving those spaces that they may not have thought too much about before. So somebody who has done an amazing job at this, you might have heard John Krasinski doing SGN. If you haven't watched this yet, SGN is Some Good News. I'm going to switch my screen over and show you just a clip, because I think more than anyone, he has completely mastered how to speak to people right now and capture that emotional state, and that has shown with as viral as every single episode has gone. One second here. Okay, I'm just going to play a little clip of this.
In the past few weeks, we've delved into a segment called What Did I Miss? But the truth is, the overriding thing we all miss is being together. And whether it's a dinner party or a birthday party, a first date or a 50th anniversary, there's really only one place where all of these things happen all the time. And when this thing comes to an end, and it will come to an end, the first place you're going to go is to your favorite restaurant. Making up the second largest employer in the United States with over 15 million people, these staples of community and of culture are not only some of the places that are being hit the hardest, they're some of the places where you can find the biggest heroes. From the inspiring stories of selfless camaraderie to the heart-wrenching stories of simply doing what's right. These are the people who once defined your neighborhood and are now defining humanity. From Washington, D.C. all the way to Spain, Chef Jose Andres hasn't decided to do something. He's decided to do the thing. Setting up kitchens anywhere from inside churches to inside National Stadium, his goal is a simple one: feed as many people as possible. From frontline workers to the elderly, from the homeless to his fellow furloughed service workers, just this week, Jose and his team have served over 3 million meals. Through his travels on diners, drive-ins, and dives, Guy Fieri has witnessed the unparalleled hard work and determination of America's restaurant workers. And knowing that nearly every person in the restaurant industry is living paycheck to paycheck, he has firsthand knowledge of just how hard these people are being hit. So he jumped in to help them.
I'm starting to put the math together, and I'm going, wait a second, we have tens of thousands of restaurants, and 3 million employees right now that are without jobs. These folks need some help. The restaurant employees can take care of us. We walk into a restaurant, walk into a bar, walk into a coffee shop, and they're there to greet you and say hello to you and make you feel good, take care of you. Well, now's our chance as the public to come and take care of them.
But the beautiful thing about food and all this is that you don't have to be a big-time chef to make a huge difference.
So I really think that he's just absolutely mastered how you should talk to people right now, and he's gone viral because of it. There's absolutely that connection that people are looking for, and they want to be able to really connect with you and your brand, whether you're a local business or a celebrity like he is. We absolutely need to find that connection point, and that's how we're able to push our content a little bit better and still make it relevant to what's going on in the world. So how much content do you need? On average, you need about 8 touch points with a consumer before they decide to take the next step with you. That can be in multiple platforms, whether that's them interacting with you on Instagram or Facebook or Pinterest or anywhere else, your website, any of those. Typically it takes about 8 connection points. So people are always overwhelmed thinking, how do I produce enough content to actually make this worth my time? The answer is to be strategic about it. So first and foremost, you need to make a list of the places your target demographic hangs out. We can't be in every platform, and we can't focus all of our energy on responding to people in every platform. So figuring out where they live and breathe is important because people spend a ton of time online. So just some examples, obvious ones, your Instagram or Facebook, Pinterest, all of the different social groups out there, professional organizations. You have hows, you have micro influencers that are specific to your area, directory sites, email marketing, and the list goes on. These are just a few, but that's step one, is really producing that list of where your demographic hangs out. And then when you have that together, it's really important to know if you're building this list of people and these locations based on people who have opted into your content. So with social, you do have the ability, obviously, because people have liked your page, to connect with them, but nothing is stronger than an email list. People have already opted in if they are a part of your email list. So it's really important to use that to your advantage and keep in contact and stay relevant with them. MailChimp, Constant Contact, both really good outlets for you to use to start gathering that email list. MailChimp is free up to a certain amount of users or subscribers to your list. So that's something that you can integrate into your website and auto grab these names and email addresses when somebody gets to your site, or make sure you're strategic where you have a pop-up come up on your site to gather that. That might not be your homepage. Maybe that's somewhere on your inspiration or portfolio or blog section where they're really starting to get into your brand and interact with it. So once you figure out where you're going to market it, what your content is and all of that, this is an example of a strategy for a single campaign. So we would normally develop, here's your campaign idea, top 5 architectural trends of 2020. You figure out who you want to reach. Your goal reach is homeowners who are interested in hiring a firm, have the budget to do so, but don't know where to start. So this gives you the opportunity to teach them something and provide that value to them, and also expand your reach. So you would start by putting that content on your hub, your website, and making sure it's at least 300 words. That's sort of the minimum for the search engines. So you put that content on your site, and then you need to push it into the different outlets. And this is where it simplifies that content calendar, because we're not coming up with a new piece of content every day. We're posting the same content and reusing it and capturing different pieces of it and putting it out on the different platforms. So if we put this content on our site, we then do some teaser graphics and put them out on Instagram and Facebook. We may do a Pinterest graphic and push that out there. We definitely, if we have a newsletter list and subscriber list, we're going to push it out in a newsletter campaign. We're going to, depending on the budget, we're going to spend some sort of that on the audience profile and pushing out ads on the different places that we know our customers at. And then we're going to go a step further and figure out who are these digital publications that we could reach out to, the social groups, and those micro influencers in my area that could get this even further. And who can we spread the news even further with and expand our reach? So this is an example. This is what you would do when you're creating yours. So you have your single piece of content on your blog or wherever you've put it on your website. And then you go backwards and figure out all of these places that are going to come into that post. So you would have your graphic that leads them in from your email list. You would have your graphics that you're posting on Facebook and Instagram and any other platforms that lead them back into this. And then you would have your Pinterest graphic or wherever else you're promoting it. all gathering the traffic and acting as a magnet of sorts to bring it back into this content that we posted on our site. And that's why it's really important to have your website and your hub working efficiently, so that you can make sure that once you've done all this work and pushed all of these people back into your site is going to do something and convert for you. So step 3, we have a great hub online, we have content being pushed out there, and then we want to use digital a step further to create that convenience. So a great way to do that is let the people work for you. So share the content with your followers and allow them to share it. So it can be as simple as adding share buttons onto an event you're hosting or in your portfolio on a project that gets a lot of attention. All of that, adding Pinterest buttons, can cause additional traffic to come into your site and be working for you. The other thing to mention is anytime we're doing this, we always want to make sure we're tagging other professionals who are involved. Not only is that going to make people happy because they were involved in the project, but it's also going to help because it's just expanding the reach even further and getting access to their market as well if they share it. Another way to provide convenience is to provide instant gratification. So this is some newer stuff that a lot of people in this industry I don't think are tackling yet, but I think it can be really effective, especially when people are at home. So using things like Drift, which is an online chat feature that can pop up in certain spots on your website or just on your site in general, is really efficient and gets people an answer right when they need it. Drift is a free platform, so it's something you can try out and see if you like it. There are extended platforms on there, or programs on there that allow it to do even more, where you have auto responses and things like that, but it's a good one just to try it out. Beyond that, having some sort of automated message from your contact form is a really helpful thing to do. So this is an example from our website where somebody fills out a contact form and then they're led down a path for the next step. So they fill that out and then it's another link to, are you excited to get started? Here's a link to the creative brief, which is a more in-depth form, but it allows us to really gauge their interest in working together, and then also gives them another step in the process. So if they are really excited to work together and they've taken the time to fill this out, we know they're a little bit further in their decision-making process. Beyond that, giving people links to connect with you on social just helps them stay in tune with your brand. And then lastly, giving them an option to schedule an appointment if that's something you do. There's platforms out there like Calendly, or there's a few others, but that allows people to auto schedule based on your calendar, and you can set parameters on that. So you can go in and say, I only want people to be able to schedule 1 to 5 on this day of the week. And that's the only ones that it'll be available for them to do, but that allows them to get that next step and to feel like they've made progress and can check it off their list. And lastly, inspiring referrals. So this is something, doesn't matter who you're targeting, this is a great thing to add into your business if you haven't yet. So giving people the opportunity to leave a comment when they're happy is something that you almost have to remind people of, because most cases reviews are made when people are unhappy. So when they are happy and you know they are, you want to send them something that allows them to click through to maybe your Google profile and leave a review there, or even just provide you a testimony back so that you can share that on your site, or give them an opportunity to share it with their friends so that they know where to go next. So that takes us through auditing your site, engaging with your target audience, and creating convenience. So we'll open it up here to questions. I'm just gonna switch this over. And if you do have questions, you guys can put them in the Q&A chat window here. The first one from Cynthia: do you find that using multiple forms to lead the person can remove the spam factor where someone uses to fill in forms to sell you something? Do I find that using multiple forms to lead the person can remove spam factor? You kind of lost me on that one, but multiple forms, I think what you're trying to ask is if people feel like it's spam, if you have to get them to another one. No, people have the opportunity to leave if they don't want to fill that next one in. So as long as it feels really targeted and feels like it's in line with where they're at in their buying decision, I don't think that feels spammy. I think what does feel a little deceiving to people is if they fill it in and then they go for 2 days or however long before they hear from you. It doesn't feel like they're getting that customer experience. So I think giving them the next step, and it's really where they need to be, is the best part to do. Actually, we have people fill in our form to sell us rather than to inquire about our services. Okay, so you're saying that you get people to fill in your form to sell you services. That is the nature of the beast. Unfortunately, that is 100% spam and 100% happens to everybody. You can put a CAPTCHA on your site to avoid that if it is a bot that's filling in your form, but everybody gets the sign up here, and we have something great to offer you in their contact form, and it's really frustrating, but not a lot we can do about that. And those are the only 2 questions I see in here right now. If anybody else has any open questions. And we're gonna leave this screen up too, just in case if you have some questions that you wanna ask that you don't wanna ask in front of the webinar, or that you think of later, you can always email Shannon or I, or you can actually use the Instagram also if you wanna ask there. Someone else asks, what planning apps do you recommend? Oh, as far as social planning apps, if you wanted to plan out your Instagram or any of your other social platforms, we really like Later. It's an app that you can use that you can publish your content on, and then you can also share it onto other platforms. So we use it, for instance, for Instagram, and then we can say, here are the items that we'd like to push into Pinterest or Facebook or any of those other platforms. Will this presentation be available to view as a recording? Valerie, I believe so. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait for Valerie on that one. Someone says, how do you come up with the topics and blogs for your campaigns? We always start by thinking about what questions people ask us regularly. So if we get the same 5 questions about how this goes in the process, or what I should be asking somebody when I'm doing this, or trends that are happening now, that's where we start, because that's what people are searching for. So what you're writing about in social and what you're writing about on your blog or anywhere else that you're putting content out there, it should be answering somebody's question so that it's something people are searching for. Someone says, what services does Click&Co offer? We offer a wide variety of services. So primarily we're a brand design agency and web design agency and digital strategy. So digital strategy is sort of widespread in terms of some people come to us to help their website rank better and get more traffic that way. Some people want to talk about guiding users throughout the path of their website. So that's where we come in. In most cases, we are doing the brand design and the site design for the company, and then kind of structuring how that should all work. Leave this open for a couple more minutes here. Somebody says, what are your thoughts on Facebook ads and Google ads? We've done both for clients. I think it depends on who you're targeting. We're less inclined to do any sort of Google ads anymore. The perception on that a lot of times is that people in the luxury demographic aren't clicking on the sponsored ads at the top of Google. So social advertising does seem to work a little bit better if we're going to do paid purchased ad spots, because it's so much more segmented and feels less intrusive. Everybody with Google ads, it doesn't necessarily do as good for this market anymore, is what we've found. Perfect. Well, I think that's all the questions that we have coming in here. Like I said, if anybody does have any additional questions and they haven't put them in the chat yet, you're welcome to send them directly to Shannon or I, or jump onto Instagram and we can answer them for you there. But thanks again for listening and for taking the time. And we hopefully will hear from you soon. Thanks.